Yeah, born and raised on the west side. Moved to Columbus from, I want to say 3 up until like 5. Then I moved back, and when I back on the east side for a while, then we over off Gettysburg and like towards Prescott type area. That's where I was. Did that. Then after that, I've been like I was living in the northwest area, like off Main.
Off Main. Okay.
Hmm.
All right, DYT. DYT. Okay, so as you being a artist, what called you to be an artist? Like, was that something that you've always wanted to do, as far as a creative, or was there something that sparked your interest at a very early age, or how'd you know this was what you wanted to do?
I knew I wanted to be an artist because I wanted to talk to the people, and I looked up to, of course, people like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and like that. Instead of being like a preacher, I wanted to do it in like a more modern term, and what better way to do it than through music? So coming up, listening to like Tupac, people like that, changed my mindset.
Okay, so as far as the West Side, there is, of course, with 35, it divides, how big the West Side actually is. If you had like unlimited funding, right, and you could create something to give back to the West Side, what would that look like for you? Like, what would be something like if you were looking, my younger self had X, Y, and Z, I would, give that back into the community. So like if you had unlimited funding to create like maybe an institute or whatever that would look like, what would that look like for you? Unlimited funding. So imagination, you can just literally go bonkers.
Well, I would create a bunch of different things. I would probably open something for like arts. Like a lot of the West Side is like a arts type of thing. So I would definitely create like a music center where you can come in and it's different studios. It's a space for photographers and videographers to come and use the space to do their projects, and just something to give the kids in the West Side to do because there's really nothing to do. Everybody complain about kids being outside, but what is there outside except just the park? So yeah, but that would be the main thing I would like to do, and just I don't really like bring things back to the West Side, like businesses, mom and pop shops, soul food. We talked about that a little bit, and making it more prominent like it used to be.
A lot of our community leaders, I feel like we all have pretty much like an ecosystem, not just the West Side, but in Dayton in general. But since our focus is the West Side, we'll keep it at the West Side. Is is there any artists that you would like want to work with in the future? Is there any artists from the past? And it just doesn't have to be like in the music scene. It can be arts or sports, like whatever. Like, who is somebody or a collective of people that you could see yourself working with to just working with in the future to the I don't necessarily want to say like give back to the West Side, but
Yeah, nah.
like who are some people that you would just want to work with that's on this side of town?
Of course, you, Loveyah, and I feel like I surrounded myself around people who are movers and shakers on the West Side. So of course, plenty of people I'm missing. Atlas, there's plenty of people that I feel like they doing great things, not just music or anything like that. It's people who doing community work. Daj'za with Young Black Professionals. So just being able to have my hand so I can be well diverse with my work and actually make something for the West Side and make it better.
Absolutely. So of course, in Dayton there is a rich culture for music, arts, all of that stuff, especially when you talk about like funk music and just a lot of artists that's came from Dayton. Rich musical culture, what do you feel like? I believe, without a lot of that music, a lot of music today would not exist. So what do you think would be like a cool bridge that can weave the rich culture from yesterday to today? Because of course there's so much here, but if you don't know certain people, or if you don't know exactly where to go to get the information like that.
I would say utilizing the opportunities that we already have, because here in Dayton, in the past couple of years, it's been growing. Like, we got the Entrepreneur Center, we got small businesses like Third Perk. Well, Third Perk is growing. It's like 3 different spots now. So we got different places that we can go to and have fellowship at and grow. So, but I would like to see, just like you mentioned, the rich culture. I would like to grow or to the nation. Like, a lot of things has come from Dayton, and a lot of our culture is a part of the world, and the world don't know that it originated here. So I think that's one thing that we can do as a city to push it forward.
Absolutely. As far as, pushing forward, if you were someone that wasn't from the Dayton area and you had to convince someone, we'll just say convince someone to, hey, check out this area. It has a lot of this and a lot of that. What maybe would be some on the west side that you may, that you would possibly say, hey, would it be right Dunbar area? Because of course that is an area on the west side that is definitely coming with. You have the entrepreneurs market that's there. I believe there's a couple of restaurants. Bing Davis, his art gallery is in that area as well. So it's definitely a lot of funding in that area, which would be, I feel like, something that possibly would be a gimme for somebody to come on down on the road. So what is some other landmarks? Of course, the Olive Garden. This would be somewhere that would be favored, I feel like, anyway, the kind of, shows the agriculture that's within the community. Can you think of like maybe some other spots on the west side that maybe one on the outs to, kind of come in and see what the west side of Dayton is like?
Yeah, even though you probably answered the question for me, but I'm gonna try to answer it my best. But yeah, I would just say I was a lot of growing pieces right now, and what sell the West Side on is the growing culture and businesses that's coming to the West Side. Like, we got great food spots like Munchin Buddha and Huffy's. We got Huffy's, but even though a lot of businesses closed, we starting to see like more mom and pop shop like fashion boutiques. I think like.
Sure, we'll say boutique.
Okay, yeah, fashion boutiques. So with everybody wanting to own boss now, I feel like within the next couple of years we will see a lot of black businesses coming out of nowhere, especially like as when we get abandoned buildings renovated and everything like that. So people can actually want to rent, because that's like a big problem right now. Other than that, I think the West Side is growing. It's growing faster than it needs to. We got the Gym City Market. I forgot to mention that. So you can go there and host your own cooking classes. It's not like you have to take someone else. You can host your own, educate the community, and also work with the Solar Garden. We're going to plug them in again. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's definitely, and I would tell people to check it out. Like,
absolutely. So we're going to definitely wrap this up here. I just have like one more question for you. How important is village, especially with an area? We're not the biggest and we're not the smallest, but we do have an ecosystem. So if you can just, explain how important you feel like having an actual village like that will be, how important a village will be in the future.
Yeah, especially like that question really remind me of like find your tribe. And I feel like once you find your tribe, it helps you stay passionate about what you want to do. And it also help you network and grow in other areas that you might not be as good in. And I was talking to my guy Billy G, he do like oil spill yesterday, and he was just talking about how like downtown it got businesses like Blind Bobs and stuff like that book bands to come perform, but they don't book hip hop acts. And we was just talking about the disconnect like that. So like a goal that I really want for the city is to have that pride. Like we're Dayton. Like yeah, Columbus got baseball teams, basketball teams, Cincinnati got football and baseball, but hey, we dating and we building something, and things have come from here, and we're prideful about what we have here. So that, and when I really, and Dayton is still one of the most like segregated cities, but we're trying to. It's definitely making a push forward to be more integrated, but you know, I feel like having that sense of village and your sense of tribe with Dayton being in mind, like this is our overall community, east side, west side, north side, but we all together and this is our city, and that's when you'll see a stronger village and a stronger tribe.
Do you have suggestions, or do you have like maybe a future passion project where some of that segregation, because when you think about Dayton, it really is. It really is. It's like the heart of the city is where the majority of your black people, you know, that's where we are. And then the further west, east, north, south you go, demographic changes a lot. So with the Oregon district being so close to downtown, and downtown, really the west side downtown Oregon is, and there's a lot of, I know a lot of dollars that's spent in the Oregon district. Do you have like any suggestions that can kind of maybe bridge that gap, or is it something to where we have to create our own Oregon district?
I would say a little bit of both, because we have to. There's a stigma about like hip hop culture, so I kind of feel like we have to like change that, introduce a out insight of what this culture mean and how we act and how we move. Not to say change ourselves, but to introduce ourselves. Like I was at work and I was talking to a guy, a white guy, and he was like, it shouldn't always have to be the black man's job to make whites feel comfortable. And I was like, man, that, like, thank you for saying that. So I kind of feel like, with the Oregon, we need to try to work more closely with them, so we won't be left out more often, but also build our own so we can integrate the two, so we can start getting different talents coming to the west side, Oregon district, venues on the east side.
Absolutely. Dayton, Ohio, the resilience, the Gym City. Where do you see us like in the next 20 years? Where do you see, not just, of course, I want to know where you see the West Side, right? But for Dayton, where do you see the city of AV? There's so much richness here. Like, where do you see us like in the next, like 20 years is really not that far away. When you think about it, you'll be what, like 50? No, you'll be 40 something? No, 30 something?
40 something. 40.
That's not that long. Trust me. Where do you see Dayton like in the, what does that look like for you?
I actually see the whole Midwest changing as a whole, because I feel like we're going to have another surge of people moving to the Midwest like we did in the industrial age, because we have a lot of land, especially once we start tearing down all these old factories. It's going to be a lot of land, all the abandoned houses getting renovated. So, and everybody say the cost of living here is great. So I feel like within 20 years, it's going to be new inventions to come from here, because it's a lot of innovative people here. I could see it being more of an art city. Like right now, I know the city's plan is to go more into tech and medical, but I could see the art taking over. Like even now, like it's murals popping up everywhere. So the arts would definitely be a part of the city moving forward. And I could just see, and for the west side specifically, I can just see it flourishing. Because like even the city is starting to take care of this. Gonna be something in the next few years, like 5 to 10. So I think in the next 20, Dayton will be a place people will want to live.
For sure, especially when you think about one. We are here with Jay, and we're gonna ask some questions, and let's see where this goes. So I'm just gonna ask you a couple of questions. So my first question is, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so yeah, born and raised on the west side. Moved to Columbus from I want to say 3 up until like 5. Then I moved back, and when I moved back, I was on the east side for a while. Then we moved back to the west side, and then I just been here.
All right. So what part of the West Side, like what street?
I was born over off Gettysburg and like towards Prescott type area. That's where I was born, and then I lived in Westwood for a while off Leland, kind of by the Wesley Center. After that, after that, I've been like I was living in the northwest area, like off Main.
Off Main. Okay.
Hmm.
All right. DYT. DYT. Okay. So as you a artist, what called you to be an artist? Like, was that something that you've always wanted to do, as far as a creative, or was there something that sparked your interest at a very early age, or how'd you know this was what you wanted to do?
I knew I wanted to be an artist because I wanted to talk to the people, and I looked up to, of course, people like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and like that. Instead of being like a preacher, I wanted to do it in like a more modern term, and what better way to do it than through music? So coming up, listening to like Tupac, people like that, changed my mindset.
Okay, so as far as the West Side, there is, of course, with 35, it divides, how big the West Side actually is. If you had like unlimited funding, right, and you could create something to give back to the West Side, what would that look like for you? Like, what would be something, like if you were looking at your younger self and you said, if my younger self had X, Y, I would, give that back into the community. So like if you had unlimited funding to create like maybe an institute or that would look like, what would that look like for you? Unlimited funding. So imagination, you can just literally go bonkers.
Well, I would create a bunch of different things. I'd probably bring back or make improvements to Hoover Skating Ring. I'll make improvements and bring it back, make it prominent again. I would probably open something for like arts. A lot of the West Side is like a arts type of thing, so I would definitely create like a music center where you can come in and it's different studios. It's a space for photographers and videographers to come and use the space to do their projects and just give the kids in the West Side to do because there's really nothing to do. Everybody complain about kids being outside, but what is there outside except just the park? So, yeah, but that would be the main thing I would like to do and just, I don't really like bring things back to the West Side, like businesses, mom and pop shops, soul food. We talked about that a little bit and making it more prominent, making it more prominent, making it more prominent.